The video that you're about to see is a meeting between myself and Kim Isaac with Autism With Excellence. If you're new to my channel or you're not familiar with RDI, RDI is short for Relationship Development Intervention, and it is a parent training program for anyone that has children or adult children with developmental delays, not just autism. In this video, she's going to be walking me through one of the many RDI activities that we have done together. We meaning Samara and I. And she's going to be giving some feedback to the activity that I did with her. And I wanted to share this with you because I thought this would give you an idea of kind of what goes on behind the scenes. I have the RDI playlist on my channel. You can go to that playlist and look in the description to see what the goals were for the activity, and then also look in the comments, and she gives feedback on each of those videos as well. But this was really cool because this is the first time that we have done a recorded session of her giving me some feedback. And I just wanted to share it with you because I think it'll help give you an idea of what RDI is like, what it would be like to go through the parent training program, and kind of the real nitty-gritty of what RDI is all about. So take a look at this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I would love to answer them for you. Maybe Kim could get back to you as well. So take a look at the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications if you would like to see more videos.
So before we look at your video, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about was it relates to kind of a more detailed way of looking at interactions while you're interacting with Samara, and it kind of takes things that you've already learned to more of a detailed or micro level. There's something that Dr. Gutstein calls a status assessment. It's a formal way of really saying, closely observing the student during your interaction at different points in the interaction. And there's a whole handout I'll send you after I talk to you about it, but I didn't just want to send it to you and might be a little overwhelming. But basically, it's kind of a query process, like a self-query process when you're interacting with her, noticing things about her gaze or her body position, which you're already doing to some degrees you are, noticing if there's more shutdown or, referencing, shifting attention. Those things can tell you a lot about how she's processing things, her competence level, her level of engagement or enthusiasm, or when she might need a different kind of help. And that's kind of what stood out to me in this video, is in watching, her body language was kind of subtly showing that she needed a little bit of a different type of help, and that's kind of what prompted me to pull this whole thing up. But just to help you kind of look at things in a little bit of a different lens, so that within your interactions, even if they're on the fly sort of interactions, because I know in that video you're like, oh, she wanted to do this, and and there's nothing wrong with how you did do it. It's more of, there are some opportunities in there that you can create to engage her a little bit differently. So so I thought that we could watch it keeping this concept in mind. And I'll pause it and kind of show you where it is that I'm thinking this is a good place to practice this. Okay. Yeah. So let me... Okay. And I'm probably going to pause it a lot, just so you know, to be prepared. I might pause it. Or if there's something you see that you want me to pause, tell me and I'll pause it too. So. Okay. Okay.
attached your green body to your green kitty.
And the green kitty.
Now watch. All right. Should we start with the body? Oh, this one's sitting.
It's sitting.
It's sitting.
Oh, my.
Bottom. She's got purple and white feet.
And white feet. Right. Purple wing and white era.
And a purple body. Let's do the head first.
First, welcome to new head lab.
Purple needs
It's okay. We got
white on the bottom.
the bottom.
White.
I just want to say it's kind of cute how she is spontaneously like commenting a lot. I know because of what you said with your speech objective. Now, I don't know if this is the type of thing that she does in the speech session, but
Yeah.
she seems like, like her drop. She's like, oh no, my body,
Mm-hmm. Kind of narrating herself.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, it's good because that also shows that, she's present to what it is she's involved in,
Mm-hmm.
and she's invested on some level. She's not just going through the motions, and she was the one that initiated this. So it's just kind of cool to see her bringing her own level of investment to it. So.
Here's the white.
Oh,
you're gonna do it. Awesome.
Oh, how
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome.
Oh, I just have to pause it here because there's a delay in her response. I don't know if you noticed that at the time. You started that cool song,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see it took her a little bit of a delay to
Mm-hmm.
finish the line.
I never dream.
There she is.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Now we need purple on the top of her head.
My head?
Yeah, purple on top of your head.
Don't
Oh, there it is. Long purple on top of her head.
Onto my tail.
Then we can put her ears on. There's her ears. Ooh. So good at this. Just such a short time.
Night shorts.
Wow.
And it's really cool that you, by the way, here you're letting her figure it out a little bit. She might struggle just a little, but not so much that she wants to totally give up. So, you were noticing, oh, you're going to do it, and you're getting better, and giving her all of that encouragement. That was really positive.
So push up. Now we want her horn. So we need the white one in the middle. Her horn right up here on the top of her head. Oops.
My what? Oh, what? I'm just fine.
Right on the top of her head. Right there. Where the white goes. Mm-hmm. She needs her horn. She needs her horn in that white.
By the way, I think it's really cool. Sorry, I know that we're getting there's a lot of positives here too. I want to say I think it's really cool that when you said, do you want me to do it? She goes, mm-hmm. For her to say that instead of yes or you do it or whatever, another dynamic way of communicating with you, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing. She's saying mm-hmm a lot.
Yeah,
For an answer.
that's really, really neat because she's that's her producing a dynamic communication. I mean, she obviously understands it, but she's choosing her response. It's a little different than just yes, or you do it, or help me, or, you know, something that's kind of like the go-to phrase, you know?
Right, right.
So that, I thought that was really neat too.
What are you in the kitty horn? There. Now, we need to eat.
So I guess one thing, actually, I'll just start to bring this up now. So an example of this idea of a status assessment is not just watching her actions. Like, she is following what you're saying, you know, what the next steps are, you know, the pink neck, you know, she's understanding that. It's also going to be watching her face and her gaze, where her gaze is at. And that's going to be more relevant as we get a little bit more into the video. So just to kind of be aware of that. At this point, you know, she's super invested and she's not really struggling. When she starts to struggle a little bit, that's kind of when I'll be able to point some of this stuff out. But just so you know, it's watching not just her body and her actions, but her face too. So that's coming up.
Are you talking about the referencing, or are you talking about something else?
No, just in general, like watching her gaze, whether she, I mean, yeah, maybe she is or isn't referencing you, but watching where her attention is. So like if you're helping her and her attention's on something totally different, or, you know, if you'll be able to see it better in this video in just a few minutes.
Okay.
But watching just beyond the immediate, like if she gets stuck and needs a little bit of help, maybe she gives it to you or puts it down. The status assessment is still, you see that, and that's an important piece of information, but also watching her as you're helping her. And that's what we'll look at. It's just a little bit more into the video.
Next, we need
A tail.
right here, her body.
The body.
Which one's the body? Yeah, that's right. Might go the other way.
Oops. Do you ever want help?
See, let's look at the way she's sitting.
So here she asked you for help, which she needed help. Something was confusing for her. And you're just starting now to say, okay, let's look, and you were referencing the directions, and she's turning away. So I guess this is the point where let's look at this a little bit closely together, and I'll try to explain what I mean by this. So you looked over to her, and you're realizing
Can I show you?
she's not really ready to be shown.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
She's sitting this way. Let's look, I want to help you. Which way does this shape go? Does it go this way or this way? Which way does it go?
This one?
Yeah, that way. That way? Which way does it sit?
Ah.
Let's look.
Okay, so you have that green guy, the green unicorn. Sorry, I don't know what his name is. So it was clever and creative how you used him to go, oh, I want to show you, I want to help you. Totally cool. You can totally do that. The other thing is you can bring it back more to your own guidance, referencing your guidance as, oh, I really want to show you. I'll wait for you to be ready, or something like that. That's another option. As you're trying to show her, she's sort of, even though she sort of moved close to you, her mentally she's sort of disengaged. You can kind of see that, you know, she's, I mean, you started to show her and she started to participate, and her gaze and her face and everything have sort of disengaged from it. And you also started asking her some questions, like, could it be this one or should it be this one? When she disengages more like facially that way, I would definitely probably not ask a lot of questions, because she's already feeling really incompetent, like she doesn't know what to do. And so that's the time where you want to kind of almost like strengthen up your own leading or guiding, but in a way that's super, super clear and very much, that's when you might want to slow the pace down and make different statements like, oh, this part's getting hard. I'll show you, you know, let's do one small step, you know, so that she can feel more encouraged to be participating versus this is hard, mom's gonna handle it, you know, kind of on her own. Let's watch a little bit more, and I'll kind of, it's hard. I want it to like play, but I don't want it to go too far. So, but for now, you can see, so she kind of disengaged a little bit.
This way? This way, huh? Now let's put her head on.
Now it. A foot.
Feet, right. We need purple.
And white.
And so now she's back. She's feeling a little bit more competent. That initial part was hard for her.
Purple first.
When you notice that it's hard for her, though, like that, I would actually I would slow down and give her more time to re-engage with the support of your guidance versus the question asking. Because the more questions you ask, the more she's, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It's more disengaging because she doesn't know yet. You know, it's like a little bit harder part. And that's also a place you could...
In the moment, I think I know, I thought I was simplifying it.
Yeah. Well, no.
And I wasn't.
Yeah.
I even noticed when I watched it back later, I'm like,
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's all very well intentioned, and it would make sense. But by watching her, this is kind of this small example of the status of the moment. So when we say status assessment, the status of the moment was, wow, she really kind of disengaged from this moment. Okay, I noticed that. Okay, why could that be? Well, this part seemed to be a little bit more challenging. Okay, so if it's more challenging, that means as a guide, we want to really be super clear, extra declarative, extra highlighting. That's kind of, okay, and so when they say status assessment, it's like, oh, this moment just told me something. You know, because she is still motivated to do it. It's not like she's done and is walking away.
Right.
You could see by the shift from her own attention, like where her attention was like, I'm going to play with my guy for a second because I don't know. And it's not like the questions you're asking her are like irrelevant or mean or whatever. I mean, they are relevant, but she had asked for help. So she didn't know. You know what I mean? So even though your tone is super playful and supportive, I'm just, you know, it's like, okay, she asked you for help, and then you're asking her back, and she's probably like, I don't know. You know,
yeah.
Which is okay. It's not
like I said, at the time I thought I was simplifying because I could tell that she's been doing really good at, and it's the first time she's ever been able to like look at instructions, and that didn't even have like part instructions, like a lot of Lego things will have this part and this part. Yeah. That one was just a finished picture of the cat. Oh. She was just going by that. And, you know, when she was struggling too, I folded it all up so it was just the cat that we were looking at. And so I was trying to simplify that. And then I thought, well, if I just take that one piece and just have her problem solve which direction it's going, like that was where my mind was going at the time. Saying correct. but that's kind of what I was thinking, because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to like work on the whole
Yeah.
logic and, you know, helping her learn how to problem solve, I guess.
Yeah, and you can still do
But
that. You
so
can
would
do
it,
that.
would it have, but how could I have,
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Well, what I would
how
do
I could have done
is,
that.
well, number one, though, I would recognize, so this is where that status assessment comes in your own mind, maybe telling yourself a different thing. Because what you're after, I mean, it all makes sense. It's very logical what you were thinking. Like, oh, I want to clarify this and help her problem solve. That was your thinking, right?
Mhm.
So to kind of shift from, okay, she just asked me for help, kind of slowing it down to more in the moment, and now she's disengaged a little. That tells me that either, well, she asked for help, so I'm taking that as she doesn't know what to do, you know, or maybe she's overwhelmed, or, you know, it could be, I don't know what the case is, but she did need the help. So I would not ask any questions. I would start simplifying the environment like you did. So you folded it, but you could narrate that part. You know what? Oh, this is a hard part. Okay, let's do one step at a time. Step one, you know, let's look at the picture. You know, so you fold it and show her. So not just helping her to problem solve, but breaking down the steps of clarifying it with her, alongside her. So you were doing that, but you were doing it more at your speed and your processing.
Yeah.
So, but the key is in a moment like that to almost, so the status assessment is noticing what you notice, but changing your own language to break it down in a way that can help her engage in the process versus just figure out the problem or do the, you know what I mean, or solve the problem. So everything you did was quite, I mean, it all makes sense. It's very sensible. For her, though, in watching her, she didn't really engage to it, though, until the end. So the process of how you clarified it, she missed out on that process piece. She more got the result of you doing the process to clarify it. Now, here's the thing. Is that bad or wrong? No. From an RDI standpoint, though, from a point of, you know, you just have to ask yourself, and different activities, you might have different focuses. So obviously the fact that I watched it, I'm looking at it from a different sort of lens, you know, okay, how can we transfer our mental processes to her? So you noticed, oh, okay, we have a situation. And of course, you are taking the steps, you know, to clarify. But when you notice that she's disengaged from that process, you can notice that as your step. That's the assessment here is, oh, this moment, the status moment is she asked for help. She's a little overwhelmed. Let me help her to help herself get back to the process versus just break the whole thing down and have her solve the problem of the piece. Now, both ways, again, it's not really a right or wrong. It just depends on what your goal is.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this was a good opportunity to introduce this thinking about it a little bit differently, because I've been going through, I've been trying to put together, based on some of the old and the new RDI objectives, you know, like a kind of like an assessment sheet for you of, you know, what we've done, what's in progress, what more I want to teach you. So based on where your mindset is and what your objective is, you can turn these moments into the problem solving actually becomes not so much the piece that was hard, but how to navigate through something when it's hard. And so in a moment like that, I see like, oh, okay, I counted for these facts. Like she asked for help, which was awesome. But she kind of was like, here. It was more like you do it.
Yeah, she does that quite a bit if she's when she's, and I'm trying to get past that. So I want her to know that, you know, you can figure this out. I want to show you how to figure this out.
Yeah. So that's kind of what my thinking too. So I would say, you know what, you definitely don't want to ask questions, but you could say something like, oh, we have a hard part. Or, you know, like in a positive way though, because these are opportunities. Or, hey, we get to figure something out. But you keep it really simple. You pause and you say, I want to show you. I can show you. We'll do it together. You know, so these are times where you might need to step in a lot more, but in ways that are modeling. So you're not actually, you know, necessarily solving the problem for her, but you're modeling how you're thinking about this opportunity. Like, oh, we have to figure something out here. Okay, and then you go as slow as you need to. And, you know, you can show her, you can give her a role that's not necessarily direct, but maybe a little peripheral, even if she's the holder of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to give her the hardest part, you know, but you want to still involve her, though, in the process of resolving.
So I could have said, like, we need to figure out which direction this piece goes or something.
It might have been a little too much words. I would even lessen it more. I might say, I'm going to try it this way, and then show her on purpose maybe a wrong way. So I'm going to try it this way and show her and go, oh, not that way. Okay. Pause. I'm going to try it another way. You know, so you're giving her time to process not just what you're doing, but how you're thinking about it.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
Modeling how to problem solve. And
yes. Stuff. Minimal words is always better, and it can be so hard. But you want to keep it really can. I mean, I
know.
It's hard. But that's what you would do. So you want to keep very simple language. You know, I'll try it. Or, you know, didn't work. I'll try this way. You know, so you want to have these moments that stand out to her as, oh, try, yes or no, try, yes or no, try, versus, you know, asking the questions like, can we figure it out? All of the words can get in the way of the observing and the participating. So, but how that relates to the status assessment is watching her level of, you know, where her eyes are and where her focus is. It shows me that she has more of a mentality. When she says help, she is saying help, but she's saying, you do it. I don't even know how to process this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not a bad thing. It's information. So these status assessments, when you catch a moment like that, you think, oh, cool. Here's an opportunity. I really got to get really deliberate here and, you know, slow it down. Even if you have to, you know, change the environment a little bit, like maybe you could say, you know what, oh, it's hard for me to see with the other toys nearby. I'm going to move Green Man over here. I'm going to move Purple Girl here. You know, if you have to clear the space so you can really show her, like, I want to show you where to look. But you're not asking her to do things she doesn't know how to do or can't yet do. Because the whole reason for her requesting the help was she was really kind of lost on that. You know, like, okay, here. You know, and here's the thing. Kids do that. So it's not like totally absurd that she did that. Right. I mean, a lot of times kids are like, here, you fix it. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get my other toy.
Yeah.
So again, this is kind of for RDI purposes, for the sake of looking at things a little bit differently, can talk about it this way. At the end of the day, there's nothing here that you did that was like, you know, anything wrong or bad or anything like that. It's more of this is a really cool opportunity moment, though, to potentially expand on if you wanted to. you always choose what moments you want to expand and what you don't. But what I saw here was her level of engagement was really showing, because she didn't leave either. She did stay, that she really was just kind of lost as how to navigate through that a little bit. So, and to her credit, I mean, it's awesome that she can trust you and say, "Here, Mom," and she knows you're gonna, you know, it's all gonna work out. She didn't just throw it and scream and run away. Kids do that too, you know. So no, so that's very cool too. But let's watch a little bit more.
Oh,
So, hard to get off.
say pop.
That's the purple in front, right here.
And she's not giving up, but she looks a little frustrated.
Daggie.
Oh, not that front. That's good listening, though.
This way. Let's go up.
So you're super positive, you know, not that front, but that's good listening. She did. She followed, you know, she followed instruction. So this is where you can think about, there's just different adjustments and enhancements, like, oh, okay, let's check. So let's say she put it the way she put it. Now you can hold the paper. Is it a match? Like, that's your mindset.
Right.
You know? Oh, oh, and then you can show her, I think we can try it a different way. And then try a different way. And then check. The checking. You know? Because here, I mean, she trusts you to tell her what to do. And again, nothing wrong with that. But to transfer a little bit more of the thinking to her, you would expand it out that way. So what I'm always focused on is this aspect. So, you know, and it's always different whoever the guide is. She's participating with you and she's trying, but she's still not really understanding how to figure it out. She's more like doing what you're telling her.
Yeah.
So that's where I would just say, number one, the noticing of that, that's the status moment of, okay, something's like kind of, we have a little problem here, or there's a breakdown of some sort. Definitely want to check in and go, okay, wait, yeah, I'm doing a lot of the thinking here, and then she's doing the result of my thinking. Or I'm going to really slow this down for her to show her. And you make adjustments, and maybe you do a combination, though. Maybe there's a little bit where you let her figure it out, and maybe there's others you're going to say, you know, I'll do this one. We spent a long time working on the other one. That was a long time. You know, because you also don't want to be there for like 3 hours either.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I try to remember, I don't remember in this now if I told her to put something in the wrong place. I can't remember. Something was wrong, and I knew I was going to have to take it back apart, and that makes her upset. Yeah, we have to undo things. Yeah. And then I think there's this little bit of panic, like, let me just fix this really fast, and then we'll start fresh.
Okay. Well, no, but that's good to know. It's okay. Yeah, no, if she gets upset and you're still finding that kind of triggers you as something, I mean, of course it triggers. I mean, we don't want her upset, but there's always a way to model the regulation in there. Like, oh no, I'll fix it. You know, or just something, again, that model of, you can model meaningful thinking and actions for her, even in stressful situations. Yeah, I can't remember. I watched this last week. I can't remember if she got upset or not.
Well, she was starting to.
Yeah.
The white part. The white and the purple.
And, you know, these are fine motor things. I mean, that's not her strongest skill. So, I mean, all of this considered, you know, she was quite patient.
Yeah, Lego Dimensions was the best choice ever for a present for her birthday.
Aww.
Because she loves video games. Yeah. You're familiar with Lego Dimensions, but you have to build all those characters for that game.
That's so cool. That's brilliant. Yeah. good. She didn't totally get upset there.
Oh, it's okay.
Mm-mm.
I know it's frustrating. Hold it really tight. You be the pusher. I'll be the holder. There, you did it.
So that was fantastic, and I remember thinking when I first watched it, that would have been feedback I would have given you. When things get a little bit harder, chaotic, to go back to roles, and you did. I was like, oh, she did it. So you're like, I'm going to hold it tighter, really good, and, you know, I'll be the holder, you be the pusher. That's always a way to help clarify stress and confusion when things are feeling a little bit. You can always go back to that. The other thing I wasn't sure about, and from this angle it's hard to tell, you know, sometimes certainly it's just the motor thing. Sometimes it's being able to see what you're doing too, and I couldn't really tell if she was able to really see, you know, to kind of see the, you know, how it fits and everything. So another potential thing, as if you feel you needed it, was, you know, you can get closer to her and put it more up close, where you both can say like, okay, I see the hole, you know, and having it a little bit more close so that her arm's not quite so far away, is another potential support to help her really see and experience like, oh, okay, I see it, I feel it, mom's the holder, I'm the pusher, you know, kind of more of a full experience for her. But,
Yeah,
you know,
I was just trying to keep the parts on the table, but
Yeah.
it's more important that she sees it.
No, I mean, there's a lot of pieces here, and you did a really good job because, you know, these, again, fine motor it's already in itself could just be the focus. I mean, without anything else, that's hard enough. So, you know, so anything extra, but, you know, as far as the mindset, what's I think is kind of cool about RDI is you really can, it is a way of supporting a person through really any, there's like no situations you can't use it.
Right.
I mean, any situation, whether it's a meltdown, a fear, a joy, a struggle, you could be doing anything, you know, sorting, recycling, taking out the trash, you know, there's like nothing, because it's how you do things. It's not what you do. And so it's that mindset of, okay, it is this assessment and model transfer process. And the model transfer process is a combination of things. It could be slowing down sometimes. It could be highlighting things sometimes. It could be pausing and coming back to things. It could be changing the communication, you know, but it is that, can always be very co-regulatory and make adjustments so that she can process something the best way we can present it, you know. But then she'll have also a different kind of experience where not just can she do the action, like, yeah, she did it, which is hard for her, and that's awesome. But that she can start to realize, wow, I'm a thinker. Like, I can actually think about it too. You know, things like, wow, we figured this out. Or we tried and it worked. You know, that type of mindset. It's a little bit different. So,
Did it.
Yeah,
Now
you did it.
Dark purple. Gosh.
She's really trying.
Welcome to Purple.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's annoying.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Here, let's try again.
So that's interesting, actually. After I just said that to you, I just noticed, I didn't notice that before. she kind of did look over the piece differently just now. Did you see how she kind of like went?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. Now I see that, but that's actually very cool. To her credit, she was trying to better get a handle of the situation. Like,
Yeah.
you know. The other thing too, I'm thinking, even just watching this a second time, is, you know, when you're putting things together, sometimes what helps you to put it together is the tension between the two pieces. And sometimes if someone else is holding it,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
it could potentially be harder in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, because
one thing to consider, I know the fine motor is a whole situation, you know, on its own, but a couple of things. One is switching roles where she holds that piece and you're the pusher, so she can feel the other perspective of it. And then when you feel, or however you feel she's ready for her to hold or help, you could help her hold both. So she could feel, because there's a reason, like to perceive how a piece will fit and how much force and how to wiggle it. You kind of need both sides of the perception, I guess you can say. So that might be something to expand on for a future similar.
I mean, we have done some of that. And the reason that I was doing it this way is because she struggles doing
to hold both.
You know, to hold both, yeah. And she usually just, that's when she's like, here.
Okay, well, that's okay.
So I thought, well, let's break it down this way. And then, but I know what you mean. It is.
Yeah, well, then maybe
it does become awkward and you don't have that, you know, that sensory input coming from.
Yeah. Well, maybe having her do the opposite part, just so if right now it's too hard to do both parts, she can experience what it's like to be the pusher, experience what it's like to be a holder, and maybe even you can change roles a little bit in the activity. So just so she's getting the experience of both sides of it. Because even if at the moment she's not holding both, if she's experienced both sides, she has a better chance of remembering. You do have, when you get a lot of experience with stuff like that, you do have the memory of what's needed tension-wise too. And some kids, and she's just not ready for this fine motor-wise, which is totally fine, might actually hold with their other hand their parent's hand, you know, to try to manipulate that. But you can kind of feel your way through that. It's not like, but I was just thinking, possibly from her perspective, especially just the pushing, it's a very wobbly, sort of unstable feeling, you know? So, but anyway, but no, that, I mean, it's kind of a little side thing here, but,
Right? Even? Yeah, I think we need to do another one here. Can we get another one in? We need to do light purple. Like that. Yeah, I think that one's here. Okay. Take this one, the light purple.
The light purple.
Yeah, no, the white.
Light.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if we're supposed to put this one back there. That's just extra feet. Change of plans. Let's try this.
she's handling it well, though. She's just, but you notice, but here's what's interesting, though. When you say change of plans, now this is to her credit, and it's also information. She didn't have a full, you know, freak out, which if she did, that would have been okay. But she immediately redirected to a toy that she was like, this is all good. Like, I don't have to process anything. It's already made, you know? So she right away just kind of was like, I can't solve, you know, I don't know.
That's good. It's self-regulation, right?
Totally. Yes. So there's the positive, you know, to look at, and the opportunity, because it's, all of this is always information. It's not good or bad. It's like, wow, this tells us something, like, interesting. So if there's a breakdown, and understandably so, she, you know, maybe the way she used to shut down was more dysregulated. She's still sort of shutting down, but in a more regulated way. But those are opportunities to also go, yeah, this is kind of sucky when we have to change our plans. I mean, everyone would have a reaction. I'd probably go, you know, like, all right, we have to look at this again, you know. But there's always opportunity, and it's like, how do we handle this emotion? We don't have to be stuck. It doesn't feel good, but that's okay. I mean, in life, we're not always going to feel good, and things definitely aren't going to be smooth sailing all the time. So it was kind of cool to see, like, it didn't like break her whole world. She was sort of okay. But it was interesting how she just right away kind of just, I'm shifting out, you know, like when you're like, change your plan, she's like, oh, okay, I'm out. You know? So that's okay. I mean,
This is for the back, and I think
it's a lot of patience too for fine motor stuff. Oh,
there.
a lot of patience.
It's okay.
It's okay. No, her head came off.
Ah,
Don't push together.
it's pushing.
So she's going through the motions now. She's like, you're handling the stress very playfully, which is good. And you hear her say, it's okay. You know, because you said it's okay, and you're laughing and you're being playful. Thank God. Because if you were freaking out, she'd probably be. But now it's interesting. So you're telling her to push. She's probably reaching her threshold here. So she's kind of like, here, I'm pushing. All right, I'm pushing. Again, nothing wrong with that. Just she's, you know, these fine motor things are not easy.
Her head's on. Okay. Now we need her tail.
Tail. Tail.
And this tail, look, was on the side because she's sitting down.
Back to the side.
Yeah, that's right. And then if you want, she can sit on her cloud. Can we just show everybody?
Yeah.
I think it's cool that she said that's the side. I mean, do you think she was saying it like kind of asking you, or saying it like she figured it out?
No, I think she figured it out.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, the sun, I know, is coming through my window a little weird. Yeah, but I think it's cool too, the way she's communicating is just, it's like it's a more authentic way of communicating versus just the same, I did it, or
Right.
the tail, or it fit, you know, it's more like she's thinking and speaking.
Yeah.
Not just saying things just because you say them.
Right.
So that stood out kind of this whole video though for me. I felt like she was more dynamic, like attached to her communication. And maybe even communicating a little more than I'm used to seeing in some of your videos, actually. But
She looks sick or sleepy. I don't know. Look like Z's on her face. Off the cloud, right? Oh, her foot did. This is when we go over. Here we got an extra foot. Extra foot on. Oh no!
The tail.
The tail.
she handled that well. The
Mhm.
tail.
It's brutal. There we go. Now they can be friends. Hello, little green kitty. What's your name? I don't know what their names are. I have no idea. Just, yeah, number 4 and number 10. Hi, number 4. I'm number 10.
So cute.
Apparently, they're all called Unikitty. So.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, they're all just Unikitty. There's Puppy Corn and Unikitty.
Very
And
cute.
there's just different versions.
Yeah, that was so cute.
I had to ask them at the Lego store.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, but there were so many really positive things. I mean, on both of your ends. I mean, for her, that was 12 minutes of fine motor and not smooth sailing, just because in life, like, you're putting new things together. It's like, it takes a few tries, you know? That's life. She handled it all really quite well. What was the thing that really just triggered my thinking on this whole concept of, you know, assessing her status is that it's pretty consistent for the most part, and with harder things it's going to be maybe a little different than easier things, where, you know, she will just shift away her attention to the actual process of, you know, the figuring out and trying, when it's too overwhelming for her. So you just want to notice that, which I think you do notice it, but just remember that you can actually include her in the simplifying so that she can learn how to clarify things for her own self, so that she doesn't feel like, I just have to wait until
someone figures it out for me and tells
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know, that's what happens. And I mean, there was a lot of really awesome victories in that segment there. I mean, I mean, she was so well regulated, and you stayed very playful and fun about it. Like, you're really setting the tone that we're not going to stress out and make this, we have to be perfect. You know, it's like, we're just putting together toys. Like, you really kept the tone very appropriate. So that was really good too. And that's not always easy to do. So, I get frustrated putting things together personally, and I feel really terrible still. This video reminds me, I did an activity with one of my teenagers where we put together a bookshelf. And it wasn't hard. It really wasn't. But I am just not, you know,
Those are frustrating.
It doesn't resonate with me, and I feel terrible because I didn't have my best self. I was sort of like, so I told him though, I said, you know what? I'm feeling really frustrated. And he's like, with me? And I said, no, not with you, with me. You know, I'm realizing my brain is like, I don't have a lot of patience for these things. He's like, you don't? And I said, no, and do you? And he goes, yeah, I love this stuff. And I'm like, oh. I was like, I think I need a break to calm down. I feel my patience not being very good right now. And he's like, okay.
Here, you do it.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where, you know what, in life, you guys might have situations where you're like, you know what, I don't know if I can model my best, you know, like, everyone's human, but there might be times where it's like, you know, mommy needs a break, or I'm going to go ask daddy for help, or, you know, just a lot of real life things that could happen when you're in the middle of trying to figure something out. That's part of the process too sometimes. So it's okay, you know, if you don't know, or if you have to just make an adjustment by, you know, making things a little more clear in front of you guys, or looking closer, or doing a couple of the harder pieces for her and saving her a particular piece, you know, all the adjustments that you could make. But the main point is for her to be part of how to figure out how to figure it out, not just the last parts per se, depending on what it is. But I think here it just triggered my own thinking a little bit on that. Reminds me of that, the status assessment, as he calls it. And I'll send you this, I guess it's like a handout type of thing to look at. So it's not something that, it's not like you are doing it to different degrees, but I think it's a matter of what you're asking yourself or what you're telling yourself to help her in those moments. Mm-hmm. That might be a little bit different. So just to be, you know, a little bit mindful of that part. But again, everything's information. And you know what? Sometimes you shift from, you know, depending on what you're working on. I mean, if you have a skill that's really hard, like these fine motor things, sometimes it's like, okay, if we're really just going to work on that, let's just really be very physical, you know, and not so cognitive, you know what I mean? So yeah. That's okay too. You just kind of want to be aware of, or is it too much? Is it too much to be extra dynamically thinking combined with the level of difficulty of the fine motor task? So sometimes you have to assess that too, because it's hard for her to do hard things, and to have multiple hard things makes it hard. So, but you handle everything so well. You're very playful. You're so supportive. You didn't overdo it. Like, you didn't do too much where she didn't get an opportunity to do anything. And, you know, she did have opportunities. I feel like there might have been a little bit more in the thinking department she could have done, but it wasn't like anything, you know, I mean, it was all very productive. So, but just something to make note of, to consider in some of your future engagements, or just to be aware of, even when you're just kind of with her and engaging with her, and maybe even asking yourself like the type of the thoughts that you're having, because that's how it starts, is what the guide is noticing and what you're thinking. You know, are you thinking like, oh, I want to get her to figure this out, or how can I slow down this process to make her a part of my process, type of thought, you know, and slowing it down that way. I talk to myself all the time as a guide. I'm just like, it's like, oh, I don't even think I could verbalize to you at this point how, like, I guess with practice, I don't know, like, and it's a lot of thought shifting too, I think. But you know what? It all comes from being in the moment, which you're really good at. Some parents, it's a lot harder for them to be in the moment, and guiding is infinitely more challenging. But you have to be in the moment, because you got to be present to what, you know, what's happening for the student. And you
So
know,
you don't have to just be in your moment. You have to be in their moment.
yeah, it is. It's definitely right. Yeah, it's a lot of very deliberate thought. Not easy to do, but super exciting when you realize the power of it. You know, and how it's like can be really impactful. And also, I think with kids that have a little bit of communication challenges, you know, there's so many potential things that maybe she'd want to ask or say that she's not saying. I try to sort of consider that as part of my thinking sometimes, like little moments that people, I want to say ABA people, or just normal, anyone, any person might think this, but might really blow the communication out of proportion type of thing. You know, so I don't know, maybe a similar example to this video we saw as a possibility could be, you know, like, yes, she asks you for help, she hands you the piece. You know, I don't know, maybe she could just say, you know, I don't know how to figure this out. Or, you know, I can't do it. Maybe she felt bad about herself. I don't know. But if, you know, with the language there, there could be so many different pieces of information that could be relevant. So I sort of try to account for that the best I can, where I think, okay, yeah, you know what, this is feeling hard. You know, we could take a break, or we could try things. Let's try things. You know, I mean, so just kind of thinking about it a little bit differently. I think that's part of how I've integrated my thinking, is also like, if she had more words, maybe what might she be saying? Like, what would a kid say? You know, or, and judging the time too. Although she wasn't leaving, so that was a sign she kind of wanted to be there. She wasn't just walking away. She wasn't breaking out too much. So all of those things count.
I know when I watched it back, and I think I mentioned this when I posted it, my panic was that she wasn't referencing me. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not visually referencing me. And
yeah,
you know.
No, she
and
wasn't.
Then someone actually commented on my video that about how great her focus was, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Her focus was great.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Your focus were the items. At the end of the day, it was. You weren't focusing on, let's together, I'm going to show you these things. That was a little peripheral bit of it. That wasn't really the highlight. The highlight was the items. So yeah, she was very focused. But I think that, and that's where there's always room. It's like, okay, we're not trying to get her to reference you. That's not really what it is. But it's more like in the process of guiding, there are things I can show her. And based on how you set things up, referencing would naturally, occur as a result of that. So that's, but again, I mean, in life, there's so many things you do with her and help her with. Sometimes you have to decide where the focus is going to be. It's not easy to do.
All of it.
All of it. And that's how you also kind of know when you're being a mindful guide, it's a different mental exhaustion, but it's like productive mental, but you're like, wow, I was really being very deliberate. I used to get migraines after certain times.
Micromanaging your brain.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted. That's what I wanted to point out, and to let you know that I am working on synthesizing something meaningful to help you see, what we're doing. What's always going to be a little bit like work in progress. This status assessment concept is always something you do, just because in life, as things change, you're going to want to kind of assess what this moment means and how to better or best adjust to help her in it. It's a little more stopping to notice, a little more often. So, but again, I think in this activity, it just kind of stood out to me mostly because when things got stuck, her attention she just kind of not checked out in like a bad way, but it was pretty obvious she just did not know how to
proceed
work through a breakdown like that. So, good opportunities there for sure. So I'll email you this status assessment sheet. You don't have to take it super seriously every word for word, but just the gist of, some of the tips. It's like status assessment tips, and just kind of think about it a little bit, and you can reflect on it.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope some of that information was helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those below and I'll be checking back. If you have any questions about RDI, you can visit www.rdiconnect.com. If you want to get notifications, don't forget to click that bell and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.